is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to a big Tuesday edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. We've got lots to get to. Jets just finishing up practice before hitting the road to Washington. Excuse me. We had quite a topical conversation with Ken yesterday discussing how they're going to handle things without Neil Pionk, who's day-to-day right now. Pionk did skate on his own today. He will be going on the trip, but don't believe he's going to be playing tomorrow. And we kicked around the idea of this might be a great time to give Elias Salomonsson a call up from the Manitoba Moose, and that is exactly what has happened earlier today. Elias has been called up with the Manitoba Moose. He will be making the trip, and we'll get to the clean line lines in a minute because there's been some shakeups with the forward lines. But he was skating alongside Dylan Sandberg today in Pionk's spot on that second pairing. So it looks like it's going to be go time for the Jets' top defensive prospect on this road trip, presumably as early as tomorrow night. John Shannon's going to join us a little later on at the top of hour number 2, right around 2 p.m. We'll talk about that, get John's perspective on the recent run of losses for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, 2 in a row, but over the course of the last 9 games, only 3 wins, 6 losses, all in regulation, which certainly has made their spot in the standings look a little more perilous than it was going into this segment. But that's a big story today. Couple things I want to get to right off the bat. Tonight, poker is on. WST, our chance to end the dynasty of Jeff Hamilton. Hamilton is joining us at 1:30. I hope this is the last time he can come on and peacock in front of us as the champ. But if you want to play with us, we'd love to have you join us. 8 p.m. tonight. What you're going to need to do is go over to coolbet.com, click on poker, and when you get into the poker app or software, go to tournaments. And then once you're in the tournaments, there's a million of them. There's a little magnifying glass where you can search. Just put in WST. Pop in, you'll see it. Myself, I'm already in there. Remis, a couple other people already that have registered, and we'll get it going at 8 p.m. tonight. And again, it's a $30 entry. Don't be freaked out by that it says November 26th, 3 a.m. That's just where the host, they're in a different time. So it's 8 p.m. Central Time tonight. We'll look forward to seeing you there. All are welcome. And yes, $100 bounty if you take me out, if you take Remis out, or if you take out the hammer, Jeff Hamilton. Listen, a couple other big stories that are just breaking. A Canadian sports legend passing away, a shocking suspension to a Canadian Olympic hero. We will get to all of that. We're also going to be talking, I know there's been a lot of we spoke yesterday about the demise of Valor FC. Might this be an opportunity for women's soccer and the NSL to fill the void? Later on today in the program, we're going to welcome in the president of the NSL and Winnipeg soccer legend Desiree Scott to talk about that. But Hammer, John Shannon, Christina, Litz, and Desiree Scott all coming up today on the program. Just before we bring in Michael Remis, huge thanks to the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at CoolBet. Join us for the poker tourney tonight at 8 p.m. Jake and Pat are going to come on together tomorrow at 2:30. We'll do a little mini WST winners with the CoolBet boys and get after some picks and maybe a couple parlays for tomorrow or a Thursday slate in the National Football League on Turkey Day. Also want to thank Princess Auto, the great people over at Chud's Power Sports, Rolly's Transfer, Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating and Electrical, St. Vital Dental Center, Canadian Club, Uptown Alley, Manitoba Battery, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug. We'll get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. And I know you'll have many hot takes in the chat. We'll get to that for fansfirst.ca. Let's get Michael Remis in here as we welcome everybody who's with us live on YouTube. Remo, what's up? How are you? Hello? Hello. We'll get Remis set up. I'm not sure what's up with his microphone, but listen, I'll just get to this. I'll wait. Hopefully Remis can join us in a moment. Colleen Jones has passed away at the age of 65 due to cancer. Just a terrible bit of news for a Canadian curling legend. And they will certainly be having a moment of silence. And I think Colleen Jones's presence will be along with just about everybody at the Olympic curling trials over in Halifax right now. We'll get you an update on that a little bit later on. But some really sad news to start the program with the passing of Colleen Jones. We'll certainly be touching on that as we get, more into the week. Taylor Allen, of course, is heading out to Halifax to cover the curling trials for the Winnipeg Free Press. But Colleen Jones, I believe off the top of my head, 4-time Scotties champion. And obviously then turned into a beloved broadcaster with the CBC. Just really, really sad news. And the other thing that came up today, which was, also shocking, albeit not as tragic. Canadian Olympic hero Penny Oleksiak is suspended for 2 years and ineligible to compete until July 14th of 2027 after accepting a ban from the International Testing Agency. The violation cites Oleksiak committing 3 whereabouts failures within a 12-month span, resulting in an anti-doping rule violation. Now, there'll be some more digging into just how this came about, but if you were active in Olympic competition, in most of these sports, they can knock on your door literally at any time, and you need to be ready to give a test. And apparently 3 times they've tried to do that, and her whereabouts were unknown, didn't get to them, and that's going to result in potentially the end of her career, which is unfortunate. I mean, she's 25 right now, be 27. Obviously, hasn't had in the last few years the same success she did as a 16-year-old and a 20-year-old. So who knows what's up with that. But a couple big stories involving the passing of Colleen Jones and the Penny Oleksiak suspension right off the bat. Do we have Remis back? Doesn't look like we do. Well, I will continue on with the program then, and we'll get the hammer on coming up in just a couple of minutes. Here's how things are looking right now. I'll get right into the Clean Line lines, brought to you by our friends at Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. For 40 years, your local leader and the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets, captain approved. This is how things are looking at Jet practice today. Connor Scheifele and Velarde together. Now, again, we can number these lines however they want. I think we'll see who the 2, 3, and the 4 line are by how much they're deployed by Scott Arneal when the puck drops tomorrow night in Washington. But Vlad Nemetsnikov is playing center along with Cole Perfetti and Tanner Pearson. The Lowry line is back together. Niederreiter, Lowry, and Iafallo. And Jonathan Toews is now centering a line with Morgan Barron and Gustav Nyquist. So as we saw, they changed things up quite a bit on the weekend, especially in that Minnesota game. But nothing was really happening. The team got shut out for the 3rd time this year. So we've got the top line back together, and certainly they're going to need those guys to get her going again on the week on this road trip. But I do find it interesting that Vlad is popping in with Cole Perfetti and Tanner Pearson on that line. I'm very happy to see Lowry back with Niederreiter and Iafallo. And listen, I think Jonathan Toews, by any measure, has sort of been struggling over this last little bit. They haven't been generating enough. So he's going to be out there with Gustav Nyquist and Morgan Barron, which is a line that we have not seen yet at any point this year. Let me throw out this to the chat. Why not question of the day for Not AutoCorp over at Waverly and McGillivray? Still time to get those winter tires on and check out their winter tire program. Holler at Chris over there. He'll take good care of you. Thoughts on the Salomonsson recall, but also what do you think of the lines that, with Arneal shaking up really the bottom nine outside of Connor and Scheifele Velarde and moving Toews to a line with Morgan Barron and Gustav Nyquist? As I mentioned, Morrissey playing with DeMello, Sandberg with Elias, presuming he makes his debut, and Big Stan with Colin Miller on that third pairing, Luke Schenn, seventh defenseman, and obviously Eric Comrie and Thomas Milic. Lots going on behind the scenes. I'm not sure exactly what just took place. Maybe he's just playing hard to get today. I'm sure Remis will join us at some point, but this is the beauty of having a three-man operation. Guess who's here? Fresh off jet practice today. Connor Rabchak, what's going on? How are you?
Happy to fill in and pinch hit here on a whim. I was just actually about to wrap up the practice report, which will be on socials in a matter of moments. I was just about to post that, but yeah, I heard that Remis was having some trouble, so happy to hop in here and provide an update from today's practice. Huss, I've had some debates, and we were debating amongst media members at the skate. Which line do you think is the second line? Because I the way I listed them, I put it on my tweet on the lines. You could convince me any of those three lines are actually the second line. I'm not sure which one. We'll have to wait and see tomorrow night. But in terms of the forward lines, the Toews line could easily be it with Barron getting a promotion. Perfetti, I mean, I don't think he's a fourth line player, so he could easily be on the second line. The Lowry line, we've seen it be the second line in years past, so that could easily be it too. I don't really know what you think, Huss, but you could convince me either way that any of those three lines could actually be the Jets' second line.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's kind of add on to the why not question of the day for people. Based on the lines that we just rolled out for clean line plumbing, heating, and electrical, Nemetsnikov, Pearson, Perfetti, Lowry, Iafallo, Niederreiter, Toews, Barron, Nyquist. I think my answer to that, Connor, right out of the gate, right now, like this morning, having just seen them before we dropped the puck, I'll ride with Adam Lowry on that line. And I think that if we break down, if those other two lines get similar sort of minutes, I think we'll see the Lowry line probably play more. Now, special teams is always going to impact that. Niederreiter's got a spot on the peak on the power play. Iafallo and Lowry, heavy minutes when it comes to penalty killing. But at 5-on-5, if the game is played mostly at 5-on-5, I have a feeling that Arnie's going to really lean on Adam Lowry. And to be honest, it makes sense to me. I mean, if we look at the way this team, has played over the last little while, I'm not sure that there's an argument that before everything got blown up on Sunday, Lowry, Nito, and Iafallo were the most consistent line for the Winnipeg Jets over the course of the last week and a half.
They got right to their game right when Adam Lowry came back. And a lot of people, you included, Huss, and I know a lot of people that have been on this show have talked about how Alex Iafallo would look on that line instead of a Mason Appleton, who was largely there for most of Adam Lowry's career and all of last season. And they picked up right where that line left off last season, but with Alex Iafallo on it as the shutdown line, as the line that Scott Arneal trusts to throw out there against the opposition's best. And I agree with you, Huss. They've set the tone in multiple games. I'm glad that they're putting them back together. And it's going to be up to them to not only shut down, you can't really control the matchups as much as you can at home on the road. You can try your best by getting Lowry out there against an Alexander Ovechkin tomorrow night or whatever the case might be. But it's going to be up to the bottom nine for the Winnipeg Jets to chip in offensively. And that includes the Lowry line as well, who their hallmark is playing offensively below the goal line on the cycle, keeping the other team's best players below their own defensive goal line. That's what they're good at, but they're going to have to chip in as well because it can't just be the top line scoring. And I think that's what we've seen over the past number of games, the struggles with the offense, the top line, Josh Morrissey, they're cooking offensively. It's up to the rest of these lines to start chipping in as well.
Yeah, and of course the other side of things, Connor, and we'll spend some time, and I'll look forward to getting John's take on just the shakeup of the lines coming out of a power outage both on WST yesterday and for the Jets Sunday afternoon. Is the arrival of Elias Salomonsson. And Ken and I know you put this out on socials yesterday. Ken and I talked about it, and listen, I get it. You always want to have your guys over-ripening in the American Hockey League. Like I said yesterday, you're not ready until you are or until they need you. And, much like we saw Josh Morrissey. Josh Morrissey was penciled in for another year with the Manitoba Moose. And then all of a sudden injury created an opportunity for him. And he went up, and it was quite clear that this young man was ready to go, and the rest is history. Listen, that's best case scenario for Elias Salomonsson. Please don't say that I'm sitting here telling everyone that we've got Josh Morrissey 2.0. I'm not. But he is a guy that has been a really tantalizing prospect, both with what he brings to the table, the way he can move the puck, his defensive play, his physicality. These are all things that the Winnipeg Jets can use right now. And I think some of that young energy and the excitement of a young guy coming in was actually be something that this team can really use right now, considering the way they looked on the weekend. I mean, you were down there today. Tell us about Elias skating alongside our guy Dylan Sandberg, and I'm sure, did he speak as well?
Elias Salomonsson did speak to us as well. Very, very excited for the opportunity. And Kelly Moore from CJOB asked him, it's your first ever game. What is it going to be like to look across the ice and see the greatest goal scorer in NHL history? And he said, that's what you dream about. That's the challenge that you want in your first NHL game. Paul Friesen asked him, how does that dream go of when you dream about your first NHL game? And he chuckled and said, oh, usually it ends with me scoring a goal. So he's super excited for the opportunity. And that's exactly what you love to see, Huss. And we know the Winnipeg Jets, they're one of the oldest teams in the league this year. I also think it's a good thing to get some youth in there, some excitement. You saw it with Lambert, Chibrikov, and Ford. Now the back end is getting it with Salomonsson. And it's kind of a win-win for the Jets because it's not coming at the expense of a long-term injury for Neil Pionk. Scott Arneal told us that they actually assumed or thought after the game Sunday that it was worse than it ended up being. They got good news on Neil Pionk. He's day-to-day. And we'll see what that means going forward for this Winnipeg Jets group. Elias Salomonsson is going to play tomorrow night against the Caps, but what does that look like moving forward when Neil Pionk comes back? But I'm excited to watch him, and Scott Arneal drawed parallels as well between the way Dylan Sandberg plays and the way Elias Salomonsson plays. So I think it's a natural fit to just throw Salomonsson right where Pionk was, give him a guy that is going to take the bulk of the defensive responsibility, can let Salomonsson roam, make some mistakes, and Sandberg can cover for him. I think it's a great opportunity for Salomonsson, and I'm super excited to see what he can do. As many people would argue, he's the top prospect, not just defensive prospect, but top prospect, period, in the Winnipeg Jets pool. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Now, Elias is a player that, he's not going to be a guy that is reminding you of, Morrissey with the offensive game, but a well-rounded player. Last year in 53 games with the Moose, he scored 5 times and had 27 points on the season. This year, hadn't scored yet in 17 games, but had 6 assists. And he's a player, I think, that the best case scenario for him, in the short term, Connor, is that he has played enough at the pro level that he can go in with an experienced partner like Dylan Sandberg, who has really arrived as a top 4 player in this league, and look and feel comfortable right off the bat. Just good decision making, taking care of the puck, taking care of the man. And listen, if he can add a little bit of the nasty that we've seen before in his game at the AHL level and certainly over in Europe, that would be a bonus. But this is a guy that we thought was ready maybe for some action last year and then obviously got hurt. This is the time coming. And realistically, with the roster the Jets have, especially with the players on that right side, sooner or later there was going to a chance for him to come and maybe not just be a guy that's playing minimal minutes on the third pairing. From what we see from practice today, Dylan Sandberg's going to be out there quite a bit. So this is a great opportunity, one that he's probably been dreaming of and hoping would come, and now it's here.
Yeah, Dylan Samberg, he's played 5 games. He's already first on the team in 5-on-5 time on ice per game. So Salomonsson being next to Samberg, he's going to play. Samberg plays over 18 and a half minutes at 5-on-5 per game. I don't know what the special teams are going to look like. The Jets didn't do any special teams work today in terms of Salomonsson. You know, is he going to fill in on the second unit for Neil Pionk? Is that going to be Colin Miller, who skated with Logan Stanley today? Is Salomonsson going to be a part of the penalty kill rotation? You'd have to think so. But when it comes to 5-on-5, Dylan Samberg's going to play a ton. Elias Salomonsson's going to play with him. And I think it's a natural fit for a lot of reasons. Both players can really skate. Both players keep a good gap in the neutral zone. Dylan Samberg, has gotten better with his first pass and breakout ability the past 2 seasons. So Salomonsson doesn't have to completely carry in that regard either. And Samberg can cover defensively. It gives Salomonsson the opportunity to jump in offensively. I know the part of his game where, the selling feature of his game is the defending the rush, being great in his own zone, being a little physical, clearing the front of the net, all of those things, making a good first pass. It's not really, he's not a Josh Morrissey offensive, dynamic player, but this will give him the opportunity to jump into the rush if, the opportunity presents itself. And we know with Rick Bowness, Scott Arneal, these coaches over the past number of years have given all of the defensemen the green light to jump into the rush. So we'll see if Elias Salomonsson's dream of scoring a goal in his first NHL game comes true. But either way, he's going to play a ton. He's going to be out there against Alexander Ovechkin, I'm sure, at times, and some of the talented players on the Washington Capitals. So whether it's one game or whether it's he never looks back and never plays in the AHL again, I think right now is a very good opportunity for Elias Salomonsson to let people know that he can help this team win right now.
Sounds good. Now, listen, Connor, we're going to have Hammer come in, but I do appreciate you jumping on. Some love for you in the chat. Where is that one from Schickster? Connor has been a great addition to the team and turning into a big capital J. Oh, yeah, here it is. I have to say, Connor Rabchak is developing really well and can be an impactful capital J sports guy. Well done, Connor. And listen, Remis is not on strike today or anything like that. He's making it all happen. Although an interesting development while we were having this conversation about the lines. Now, I did not see this myself, but everyone in chat talking about an outline of Remis's hair apparently coming onto the screen somewhere. I'm going to have to go back and check the tape on that one afterwards. Good stuff. But just quickly, and hopefully we'll get to this later on, give us the Cole's notes on Scott Arneal. How is his mood, and what did the coach have to say about shaking up everything as we've been discussing today?
Yeah, his mood was high, as high as it maybe can be given what's happened the last 10 or so games. He was asked about Gustav Nyquist and saying, he's in a bit of a scoring slump. As a veteran, is he taking it better than maybe a younger player would? He said yes. He says he's seeing more chances from him as of late. And he was asked about his team. Paul Friesen asked him, are you better than your record is? Or would you say that your team's better than your record? Or how much better are they than their record? And he said, most of what the analytics have been saying the past 10 games is the defensive numbers are slowly but surely getting better for this Winnipeg Jets team. Lowry's back, Perfetti's back, Samberg, like I said, most amount of minutes at 5-on-5. He's back. That has made a really positive turn on the defensive side. They're back to being, a fringe top 5 defensive analytic team these past 10 games. But it's the offense where you see the shakeup in the bottom 9. You see the top line scoring. They have on games, they have off games, but it's really the bottom 9 that needs to get going, chip in some secondary scoring. So Scott Arneal is excited for the challenge on this road trip. He's excited to get Salomonsson into the games, and he's happy with how his team has limited chances in maybe the last 5 to 10 games, but he's focusing more on that bottom 9, getting some secondary scoring, which the Jets will have to have. I mean, they had no goals, can't win games with no goals. But going into this road trip, Washington, Carolina, these are tough teams, and they're going to need some contributions from the bottom 9 of their forward core.
Connor, great stuff. We'll look forward to the practice report coming up on the socials, and who knows, maybe we'll be speaking later on today in the show. You just never know with the
I'll be here.
Revolving world. Thanks again, pal.
Remis is day to day. You're like Dylan Samberg, cuz it's easy to fill in next to you. You're all good.
Take it easy, pal.
Yeah,
Great stuff.
yeah.
Having Connor jump in right off the bat. Couple things I did, and Gregory was saying in chat, if you're just tuning in, Canadian curling legend Colleen Jones passed away. We'll get you an update on what's happening out in Halifax. Great starts through the first few days of competition for many Manitobans, including Maddie Dunstone and Carrie Anerson, who both started off 4-0. Colleen Jones, we have 6 Scotties titles and 2 world titles as well. I mean, a true legend and obviously a really accomplished broadcaster for all those years with the CBC. All right, Jeff Hamilton is locked and loaded and ready to go. Let me shout out our friends at Uptown Alley. As we get ready for the holidays, folks, many of you are probably thinking, what would be a great stocking stuffer for folks that love to get out and have a little fun? Well, may I suggest gift cards for Uptown Alley, which is the best place in town to go with friends, with family, for group outings, to have an absolute blast. 5-pin bowling, 10-pin bowling, laser tag, an amazing arcade, tons of games where you win tickets for some really cool prizes you can redeem right there in store, and absolutely phenomenal food that will blow you away. Head on down to 1301 St. Matthews Avenue to check out all the fun for yourselves. And again, now that it's getting cold out and there's a little less time spent outside, number one spot for birthday parties or for kids, teens, or adults. And of course, group and corporate events are amazing at Uptown. All you do is pick your activities, your meals, your add-ons, and their event staff will take care of everything else so you can enjoy the party and have a blast. Gift cards available as well for the holidays. Get on down. Tell them your boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you, and we'll see you down. All right, sorry about those technical difficulties. I think our mainframe computer may have exploded or something today. We're dealing with a few gremlins. Hammer's ready to go. I do have to thank Rolly's Transfer for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Folks, if you have a move coming up into the new year, take as much of the stress out of it as possible with the experts at Rolly's, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, family-owned operator for over 60 years. Head on over to their website at rollys.com and hit request an estimate. Let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to go, and use the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And they'll be able to turn that around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service for all of your belongings that has made them the number one name in moving and the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. For all your moving needs, make it Rolly's. Find out more today over at rollys.com. No one loves to go to the dentist, although I'll be honest, I don't mind it because I get to see Dr. Terry and his amazing staff over at St. Patel Dental Center. Folks, if you and your family are looking for a long-time dental home like generations of Manitobans have done before, head on down to St. Patel Dental Center at 167 St. Anne's. Beautiful new facility, convenient free parking right in the back of the building, and a full array of dental services for clients from 6 months to 99 plus, with cleanings and checkups all the way to things like dental implants. They can do it all at St. Patel Dental Center. For all your dental needs, head on down to St. Patel Dental Center today. Book and make an appointment at stpateldental.ca. And just before we bring in Hammer, folks, the holidays are here. It is U.S. Thanksgiving on Thursday. We get into December afterwards. You're going to be entertaining. You're going to be getting jolly. You're going to be heading to your local Manitoba liquor marts. While you're there, make sure to keep your eye out for Canada's iconic Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club. Limited availabilities left of the Blue Bomber label bottle. Might be a great gift for the whiskey lover and bomber fan in your circle. And don't forget to keep your eyes out for the limited edition holiday Cranberry Canadian Club Ginger Ale. The great taste of CC with cranberry and ginger ale just in time for the holidays. It's available in 4-packs as well as 473 milliliter cans. Ready to go. Just add ice. Take the one step out of some of your holiday planning. It's all available at your local Manitoba liquor marts and the CC Cranberry Ginger Ale at beer vendors as well. There you see it. What a beautiful looking can too. Very festive with the red, the green, and the white. All right. Let's get to it. Technical difficulties be damned, because the champ is here. What a perfect night to have Jeff come on. Maybe the last time that he can come on as the poker champion. Maybe not, though, as the dynasty looks to continue tonight. We were playing 8 p.m. Check our socials for details. Coolbet.com, WSD Poker Tourney. And yes, the champ is here. How are you, my friend?
Not feeling like a champion. Actually, I think this might bode well for other players in tonight's game. I'm just coming out of a cold. I got the bug after the Grey Cup. I think a lot of people have. I almost feel like a handful of people at my work called in sick for a good chunk of last week, myself included. But feeling good being on here, my friend, and looking forward to tonight and defending my title for a second time. I guess that would be.
Yeah, it's been the talk of the poker world, and everyone is going to be locked and loaded on short side snipe tonight. But
I want to say one thing though, Huss, before we get into it, because you dropped it on us, Colleen Jones. So I have a Colleen Jones story that I'll share kind of quickly.
Please
about
do.
it. Obviously, I had no idea she was sick. I found out the news when you shared it not too long ago. Devastating. But it's interesting. So when I first started out in my career, I graduated from university in 2012, and anyone who would have known me back then knew I worked at CBC for a few years before I took the job with the Winnipeg Free Press in 2015. And early on in my CBC adventures, I wasn't covering sports. I later started covering Jets. As in the last couple of years I was there. For the first few, I was just trying to survive. Like many people who recently graduated from journalism, just trying to take job after job after job. But anyways, long story longer, I ended up getting a promo producing job in Winnipeg that landed me in Halifax, which gave me an opportunity to live out there for like 6 months. And I didn't really know a ton about curling. I mean, I obviously knew the game and whatever, and I knew the name Colleen Jones, but I would not be able to pick her out of a lineup. Well, I'll tell you what, it took about 25 minutes of me being in that newsroom to know exactly who Colleen Jones was. Colleen Jones worked with CBC Halifax as a reporter, and every morning we would have these story meetings. Like every newsroom, you'd have the story meetings, and CBC is kind of the same across the board. You get there in the morning and you talk about all your stories that you want to work on, that you're hoping to land for the TV news and radio and whatever else that was going to go on later that day. Well, Colleen Jones, I got to know her over the months I was there, man, and oh my goodness, like. As I would later find out, obviously through interviews, as you know well, just an absolute firecracker ball of energy. Like I remember there'd be days where like I wasn't feeling it, and I would go into these story meetings in the morning, and she would just come with such exuberance in the story she was chasing and why it mattered. It wasn't all sports. She did a lot of the curling stuff. Obviously, her resume speaks for itself. But when she would do news, she brought that same passion to regular everyday stories. And it's crazy because I've been in these situations, several occasions in different newsrooms across the country. And to this day, nobody has left an impact on me in a story meeting setting like Colleen Jones did. And I just wanted to quickly share. I'm not pretending to be Colleen Jones's best friend or even a close acquaintance, not at all. But I got to sit front row seat for about 4 months while her passion was on full display. And I mean, everyone knows her as a curler. She was equally as great as a human being in my experiences. So just a sad day, and really crappy news that we lose another person way too soon.
Yeah, as they say, we were talking to Taylor, and he's heading out to Halifax for the Canadian Olympic trials right now, which are going on, and obviously with some great Manitoba teams vying to represent Canada at the Olympic Games. This just happened as we started the program. I got news on this. I'll be turning it on later on to pay attention to it, and this is going to be just cast a pall over the, especially with it being in Halifax as
Big
well
time.
out there. So Obviously just a devastating news for, not just the curling community, because she was a household name to many people that never saw her curl through her work at the CBC. So I'm glad you passed that on. One other thing, you hear about this Penny Oleksiak story?
Remind me, I think you got it. I think I was so pulled back from the Colleen Jones news. I didn't really listen to the second big story you were explaining.
So Penny Oleksiak's banned for 2 years. She no-showed, had 3 failures on, they called them whereabouts failures, where I guess they say, where are you right now? We're coming to test you. And either just didn't pick up the phone, respond, or whatever. And she engaged in a voluntary suspension a little earlier on, and now 2 years. So, at that point, have we seen the last of Penny Oleksiak, who, of course, is a former Northern Star Award winner, an Olympic hero from...
Remind me, what does her last couple of years look like? I'll be honest, with the swim circuit, I haven't heard Penny Oleksiak's name as often as I did when she was much younger, obviously.
Part of a couple of relay teams that didn't medal, I believe, in the last Olympics. And seemingly now, I think the writing's on the wall. We'll find someone else to talk about this.
I didn't know about that story, man, but there's a couple things I would add to it. One, it's interesting when you mention the whereabouts thing, right? Because when Zach Collaros was going through his whole thing and trying to find out where he was and getting the whole 24-hour thing and whatnot. So when I called the Canadian Center of Ethics and Sports or whatever, the ones that facilitate these things, and I was trying to explain, because they don't speak to individual cases, right? I can't be like, hey, Zach Collaros from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers did this. Can you comment about, Zach's situation? So the way you kind of I don't want to say get around it, I wouldn't quote anybody on a case they didn't know, but when you want to get kind of broader insights or understanding of processes, you ask what a typical situation is. And when I was trying to paint out the situation with Zach, the guy on the other line was essentially he couldn't comment to it because they don't do it like that, right? They will do the testing for them. They'll help with testing. But as far as philosophy goes, they are completely out to lunch with what the CFL does in other pro leagues, this whole 24-hour thing. My point in saying that is when he explained to me what the typical process is, exactly what you just said. Where are you right now? We're sending somebody to test you no matter where you are in the world. Right? You could be anywhere and they'll have somebody who will come to your door and test you right away. So that's a very interesting piece of it too. And you mentioned, and this is pure speculation, obviously, pure speculation. How old is Penny? Is she not getting up into her late 20s?
She's 25 right now.
Okay, so she's not old. I was just thinking, and I was thinking kind of back to Andrew Harris's situation with this kind of stuff, right? I don't know what her family life situation, her relationship situation, anything like that. But, it's interesting to have these no-shows, right? You'd think you'd be kind of upfront on where you were. And if you couldn't do it, whatever, you mentioned the voluntary. And again, pure speculation. This isn't, whatever, but I wonder if she's taking a supplement that might be illegal and she's not competing anymore, right? For instance, when Andrew Harris's thing came out, he talked a lot about trying to have children with his wife and the potential of taking medication that was, would show up on the ban list. So there's lots of reasons for why it could be, but just based on the minimal amount of information we have, it sounds like she was okay with her career kind of coming to an end. And when you look at her rise in the swimming world, and how young she was, there's a batch of swimmers in behind her. And at 25, you're kind of aging out, especially when you factor in the Olympics and when that will be.
Oh, listen, Summer McIntosh is the queen of Canadian swimming right now, and maybe world swimming, to be honest. And Katie Ledecky from the United States, is still doing it, but longer distances, I believe, for the most part, and is a bit of a unicorn in that still doing it. You look at other, even the Phelps. At a certain point, you drop off a little bit. And again, she's been a star since 16, 15, 16 years old. So I'm sort of with you. I wouldn't be surprised if this was sort of the end, and I'm sure there'll be some comments at some point. Listen, I want to get to a bunch of Bomber stuff. And we'll talk about the OC search and your take on it. But right off, the Bombers have signed a quarterback. Bryce Perkins, the 2025 UFL MVP, 28 years old, turning 29 next month, finished up his college career for Virginia in 2019, had kicked around on practice rosters, then went to this in 2024, signed with the Michigan Panthers of the UFL, and was the 2025 Offensive Player of the Year, and then named the UFL MVP. And, Naylor mentioned, just tweeted out that, no longer are really a lot of U.S. college players just going and signing with the Canadian Football League out. They're exhausting all of their options in the United States. It sounded like that. Oh, I mean, listen, he went to Spring League. He was the UFL MVP, presumably didn't get any NFL bites, and now signing as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber. I mean, this is all just happening again also in the last couple of hours, but hearing anything about, talk to anyone at the organization about this guy, and bottom line is they need some more life in that quarterback room for time after Zach Collaros, and sounds like they've got at least one.
Yeah, so I'm going to be honest with you, Huss, as I always am with you and your audience. You're telling me I'm finding this out right now. So I haven't had the conversation. I've had conversations today, but this didn't pass the this didn't make the list. I wasn't aware of this sign. However, I'm more than confident in speaking to it. This to me, Huss, seems like an opportunity for a number 2 quarterback, right? Like behind Zach Collaros, and see what it might look like in the future, right? To your point, if you're in the UFL, you probably exhausted all your options in the US, and to be the MVP of the league, I mean, puts you in a pretty solid position as far as catching teams' attention. And I understand why you'd want to come to Winnipeg. Obviously, if you're researching about the CFL and you're trying to find out, where's a good place to live, good organization, certainly Winnipeg would fit those boxes. It is interesting, right? Because a lot of people go, well, what's the future of Zach Collaros, right? And we'll get into the OC stuff, because there's certainly, conversations. I've had conversations there. Zach's going to be the quarterback for this team for probably another year. Like, there is going to be no movement in the off season and surprises or any, like, there's going to be no competition at camp. I don't anticipate any of those messages. So I see Zach as the number 1. Obviously, Zach's getting up there in age. He's like any player who's played the amount of football he has, he's not going to be as durable, as previous years, as we saw in 2025. So, the question we've really been asking for a while here, Huss, is what's the plan at quarterback? And I know Taylor Elgersma is obviously a guy who is on the Bombers' radar, and the Bombers would love to have him in the building. But he's, of course, going to exhaust and entertain any options that he gets, in the NFL. I don't think he's going to be looking for pass, like this Bryce guy to, other spring leagues like the UFL. I think he'll come back to the Canadian Football League. But to me, that's a good problem, because I think a lot of people have this belief that Taylor Elgersma, because he had a solid performance in some NFL tryouts and particularly in preseason, that he's going to come up to the NFL and kind of have his way with the league. That's not going to be the case. He's very much going to need some seasoning, and I would argue that this quarterback they picked up probably has a better chance of taking over that position. Again, that's speculating too, but probably has a better opportunity today if all 3 of those guys were on the roster, just given his experience. But clearly Winnipeg needs to figure out what the future looks like, needs to find out what the future looks like at the most important position. We know Zach, I think a lot of people felt that, if you were asked a couple of years ago, myself included, thought maybe this would be his last season. I think even Zach at some point believed that this might even, 2025 might have been his last season. But clearly that's not the case. They need to figure out a plan after him. And if you can get a guy like, this new guy out of the UFL, or if you can get Taylor Elgersma in the building, that'll give you the opportunity to learn from Zach. And I think that's the biggest thing they want here, is they want some overlap here to have, Zach coach the next, his future, the future quarterback of the team. And you can only do that with both on the roster. So I could see, I see this as an opportunity. Clearly Terry Wilson is probably not going to be back, or is probably not in the plans any further. I think they got their answers on him. Maybe not. We'll see. And maybe he'll make it to camp and have to prove himself or whatever. But quarterback competition is good. And adding a guy with there is no guarantee that he's going to be able to perform or have similar success in the CFL, but it certainly doesn't hurt to grab the guy in the other league, if you will, who had been dominating at the most important position.
No doubt about it. No, listen, John Shannon's coming up in just 4 or 5 minutes, so let's get right to it. Bombers looking at other OCs. Mike Miller in Toronto, who, it was interesting, someone had mentioned on Twitter, and again, take this for what it's worth, And this is from, I think, someone that was in the Argos circles, who said that he hopes they don't lose Miller, is that he worked with Elgersma during 2 training camps with the Argos as part of the internship program. And Elgersma said he learned a lot from Miller specifically. Mike Miller, Tommy Condell, and does this indicate, regardless of what happens with these guys, that the Bombers will be moving in a new different direction at the OC?
Absolutely. Like, I mean, there's no like, okay, we're going to go interview more experienced and better coordinators, and then we're going to go back to our coordinator that our players disliked all season. Yeah, I don't see that being the recipe here. I do think it's interesting. Like, you know, it will be interesting to see what they do with Jason Hogan, because I think just knowing Mike, like, he'll probably tell the OC that he needs to go back to running backs coach. Maybe not. We'll see. But that would be certainly not a shocker for Mike and his loyalty. But as far as, you know, OCs, that's really interesting. I didn't know about the Taylor Elgersma stuff, and I didn't realize his connection to Mike Miller, and even to the point where he said he learned a lot from him, because as you were kind of explaining that, I wasn't, you know, in my head, I was like, oh, that's really interesting, and that's cool, and certainly there's a relationship there. But when you're looking at training camp and getting ready to go, I would wonder if I almost wondered if he knew the kid's name by the end of camp, right? Because you're so focused on your starting quarterback in the offense and instituting, like, this guy's like, and I don't mean this negative, he's less than an intern. Like, it's like he's just kind of coming out to see how the big boys play, right? It's part of that mentorship program. It's not like he has any serious chance of making the team or whatever, but that connection nonetheless is interesting, and certainly would be part of, I imagine, Mike Miller's pitch, to the Bombers, assuming that that it goes down that avenue, because at the same time, Mike Miller is also interviewing for the Argos job. Right. So, I mean, obviously he's, like anybody in his position, he's seeing what's out there and the opportunities at play. Right. Because if they hire a new head coach in Toronto, there's no guarantee that he wants Mike Miller as his OC. I don't know why he wouldn't. He's done a great job in Toronto, but that surety isn't necessarily there. So the flip side, though, Huss, and the other strong connection is obviously Tommy Condell and Zach Collaros, right? Zach loves Tommy Condell. It's like loves him, like talks about him all the time. Obviously, they work together in Hamilton. I think it was Zach Collaros who got Tommy hired in Ottawa for Drew Brown, because of the impact that Drew Brown or Collaros has made on Drew Brown. I think he was like, dude, you want to get, Tommy Condell. He'd be the ideal offensive coordinator for your skill set. This guy knows the game. He knows, he's been around the game and been an OC for years now. The counter, Huss, is he was running one of the worst offenses in the league, and he had like really good, he went through quarterback issues, but his receivers group was awesome, and they obviously were banged up too at points, like every team. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see which way they go with this one, because I haven't talked to Zach about it, but like I think Zach would be pushing for. I'm not saying he's an anti Mike Miller. I'm sure he's really impressed what he was doing in Toronto. But if the conversations I've had with Zach mean anything, then I think he's really interested in having Tommy Condell. But we'll see how that pans out, right? I think what will be different this year than last season, Huss, is an answer needs to be made sooner than later, right? Like they can't hang around, through February and not have their OC, because the OC is going to have a say in how they want to, how they want the offense to look. So I imagine that decision, because we're already in interview stages right now, I imagine that decision will be made fairly quickly. At the very least, it needs to be made before Christmas. Whether or not that will be made public, we'll have to wait and see, but I think it's going to be different compared to last year's long, drawn-out process and eventual hiring of Jason Hogan.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to think, especially if they're bringing in one of these guys from another organization, that they don't sit on that. It's announced, they move forward. These are the changes to the coaching staff. We're moving on to 2026, and then you got to start working on re-signing your own players, as well as making a bit of a target list on what's going to be, as interesting a free agency period, I think, for Winnipeg as it's been during the O'Shea era. Hammer, great stuff as always. I will look forward to seeing you tonight, 8 p.m. as you defend the title. Folks, go to coolbet.com, click on poker, get the poker app loaded, and then you go into tournaments and just search WST. I know it says November 26th, 3 a.m. That is a different time zone. It's 8 p.m. We get going tonight. And if you take out Hammer, Remis, or myself,
where's the disclaimer that bonus says, enter at your own risk here, right?
Well, that you're making the disclaimer because you've been taking everybody out the last little while. But anyways, good stuff. We got John Shannon coming up, Hammer, but I will look forward to seeing you later on. As I said, credit where credit is due, but there's a lot of people gunning for you tonight. We'll see how things roll.
Yeah, maybe we'll wait another week to talk about the Winnipeg Jets if they can figure it out here, Huss. But this is a very, very uncertain time for the local professional hockey club, and be a very telling month here, I think, in Winnipeg. As you've kind of alluded to, Scott Arneal does not look happy, and I wonder what's pissing him off these days. I could probably come up with a few things. So we'll do that next week.
Concerning him and all of that. And it's funny. Everything seemed pretty good after the Columbus game. And even the game against Carolina was a well-played game. It was really tight. That's a really good team. But you get into game 2 of the Life Without Connor Hellebuck era, and you get shut out, and you shake up all the lines, and you lose Neil Pionk. This is, I don't want to call it a crisis, but it's on the verge of being one. And 3 very big games in 4 nights without their MVP. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. But that's for tomorrow. Tonight,
he should push Canada for an Olympic gold, though, in a few months. So that'll be interesting.
Well, great. That doesn't help us at all right now.
Oh, you don't think? Anyways, we'll get into it later. Appreciate you, my friend, and yeah, hopefully some smoother sailing for those Jets over there.
No doubt about it. He's taking in on all comers. Great stuff. Jeff Hamilton at Jeff K. Hamilton on X, and of course you follow him in the pages of the Winnipeg Free Press. We're going to get back to the Jets. We've got John Shannon from 100% Hockey coming up in just a minute. Do want to thank our friends at Princess Auto, though, for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Princess Auto, synonymous with the city of Winnipeg. Founded here in the Peg, headquartered here in Winnipeg, and now coast to coast, serving Canadians, but with 3 Manitoba locations to serve you. 2 in the city, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, and of course out in Brandon as well. Princess Auto is where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new waiting for you at Princess Auto. Check out their stores this week for Black Friday sales. And of course, you can shop in advance and online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. Speaking of sales, doesn't need to be Black Friday to get the best deals at Chud's Power Sports up in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. Our pal, the Derminator, and the Chud's family would love to have you join their list of customers that's been growing for 80 years as the power sports superstore in the province of Manitoba. They have it all. ATVs, UTVs, snowmobiles, RVs and ice houses, of course, street bikes and dirt bikes, maybe not as much timely right now, tractors, golf carts, Argo and Sasquatch vehicles, Rexors, and more. If you head to their website right now, you'll see some amazing featured items and great prices on clearance items as well. And know for all of you that are getting ready to hit the trails with winter calling, snowmobile season is just about here, and you can lock in great preseason deals on Polaris and Arctic Cat sleds before the flakes fly. Make it a November to remember and get ready for winter at Chud's Power Sports, the dealership of the year, as awarded by Snowman, Manitoba's snowmobile community, on their 50th anniversary just a couple weeks ago. Corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli, and online at chudspowersports.com. We'll have the Chud's Power Sports Power Poll tomorrow for the National Hockey League on WST. And just before we bring in John, gang, the winter is just around the corner. Is your car ready for it? Is your battery ready for it? You don't want to be that guy calling your buddies or CAA broken down on the side of the road. And that's why Manitoba Battery, with the best customer service in town, invites you all to pop by either the Logan Avenue or Dovercourt Drive location for free battery testing. And if you do need a battery, you can beat the freeze before it beats you and get the best battery at the best price in town, blowing away the prices at the big box stores. That is why you shop local, save money, keep your money in Manitoba, and Donnie and his great staff will take care of you as well as certainly anyone will in the business. For all your battery needs, Manitoba Battery's there for you. Delivery citywide inside the perimeter available as well. Find out more online or order today at manitobabattery.com. All right, well, we got lots to talk about on the Winnipeg Jets. Our next guest, you hear contribute regularly on Winnipeg Jets broadcast on 680 CJOB and is the co-host of the awesome 100% Hockey podcast, along with Darren Millard. Let's welcome in John Shannon back to the program. John, how are you, my friend? Great to have you back on WST.
Thanks.
Well, things are a little sketchy around here right now. There's lots of angst, borderline panic in the chat. And listen, I would say, hey, I look back at this weekend and in a nutshell, I thought the Friday game was a really good one. A couple mistakes, really good team. You lose a 1-goal game to Carolina. Then Minnesota comes in and a good start, didn't produce any goals, and then things sort of got off the rails a little bit. We saw the lines blown up. Oh, and I didn't mention their MVP, the guy that won the Hart Trophy last year, out for 4 to 6 weeks. So you can imagine there's some kind of nervous hockey fans and a lot of people on edge right now with this Jets last 3 weeks, really, that's seen them gone 3-6.
I can see that, and in many ways, maybe Jets fans got a little spoiled last year, particularly with the regular season. The only solace you can put into it is that, and it's not much, I must admit, that Connor Hellebuyck is going through this in November and December, not in February, March, or April. So there is that. For me, the question isn't anything other than can Eric Comrie and whoever else it will be, whether it's Thomas Milic or pick a name, can they get them through this until Hellebuyck gets back? That really becomes the key question of all of this. And is it all on Comrie to do it? And quite frankly, I don't think it is. I think this is on the team now. I think we need to see a refocus on team defense. I think we need to see a lot more contributions. Not there haven't been, but more contributions from 12 forwards, in addition to the 6 defensemen that play, to get through this, what I would describe as a bump in the road, albeit it's a pretty big bump.
Yeah, no, listen, I echoed that as well. And we've heard this from Scott Arneal. And, it was interesting. And I know Arnie, by the way, folks, you should check this out. I mean, just going back to that this morning, Arnie just jumped on with you and Darren. I guess that would have been last week after the Columbus game, before the sort of rocky weekend. But spoke to, the team had a really good record at the start, but there was a lot of underlying numbers which were pretty concerning. And the irony about this right now is a number of those numbers have actually gotten better, but at the same time, the team hasn't had the results. But when things haven't been clicking offensively for the Jets this year, it really is seemingly compounded, John. It's kind of stunning to see a team with the players that they have that's been shut out 3 times in only 21 games this season. Obviously, the third one was the very frustrating afternoon on Sunday.
Well, first of all, Minnesota's a pretty good hockey team right now, Andrew.
Dude, they're
one
of the top teams.
Right. They might be one of the top 4 teams in the Western Conference right now.
They look like the Jets last year, the way they defended in that game.
A little bit. And the one thing they have going for them, again, and this is not a criticism of Jets personnel, is they have 2 goaltenders now that are just, switchable. It doesn't matter whether it's Gustafsson or Wallstead playing. It doesn't matter who plays for the Wild. So there is that. You could always play for the New York Rangers and be shut out 5 times at home. Here's the thing about what the Jets are going through that I see throughout the National Hockey League right now, throughout the whole league. A, everybody has injuries, usually more than most years. B, everybody is complaining about the schedule and lack of practice time. And C, this is the year of inconsistency. There's only one team. There's one team of 32 that hasn't been inconsistent. Every other team in this league now has, ridden the roller coaster. Only the Avalanche haven't. Some have corrected themselves sooner than others. Dallas, for instance, have really corrected themselves after a mediocre start. The Jets, at one point, I thought they had corrected themselves, and then, particularly after the 3 big injuries at the start of the season, and now they're faced with another one. So I guess my point is I'm not panicking. I'm not, because everybody else is going through the same stuff. And so just it might be a case of misery loving company, but if you're a Jets fan, you know that they're going to make the playoffs. You do. You know they're going to make the playoffs, and this is a get in and win league.
Well, the worry, I think, for a lot of fans, and trust me, I've heard from many of them over these last couple of days since the Minnesota
I know what you're going to
game,
say.
is the concern is that they won't be able to keep their heads above water over the course of this next month.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, if you find yourself having to make up 7-8 points, I mean, you're forced to going on a big time run of consistent winning hockey that is not easy to do. And, for me, this next 3 games are crucial, John, because obviously it didn't start off well in this period without Hellebuyck at home with the 2 regulation losses. Mm-hmm. They haven't been getting to overtime. I mean, the thing about the Jets is it feels like if they get to overtime, they're a pretty good bet to get 2 points. Now, maybe that changes when Hellebuck's not in the net. But there's a lot of hockey to be played over the course of this next run up until Christmas that likely will be without Helly. And listen, Eric Comrie's been a great backup for the last couple of years. This is a lot on him. And the fact that there is a major question mark with Milic, although I'm interested to see, he's been very good so far this year with the Moose, had a .921 save percentage. They've been winning some games. But this team, it's going to rely, to your point, on everybody to step up. And I would say more than ever, they need to get back to the defensive structure that was the foundation of back-to-back Vezina trophies and Jennings trophies, in addition to the brilliant play of their netminder. I mean, it wasn't just Hellebuyck standing on his head every day. The Jets as a team played in front of him in a way to get those results, and we haven't seen that enough so far this year.
I think that's really key. And I really think that that's the biggest difference between this edition of the Jets and last year's record-setting team of the Jets, was that there hasn't been the same commitment defensively. Offensively, I'm not worried, and you've documented, everyone's documented the starts of Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor and Gabe Velarde and others. Not worried about that one bit, but it's giving up 2 shorthanded goals.
Oh,
that's not, I'm going to sound like the coach here, but that's not Jets hockey. And it's just mental errors along the way, or not that level of intensity that we saw last year for 82 regular season games. I don't know what it is. We certainly know it's not ability, because we have seen this team play on all cylinders and play so well. So from me, it's pure and utter execution of a game plan, and that's why you see line juggling like you saw on Sunday. Scott just trying to find a way to get a spark. Where's something that will get this team back charged up? And forget about analytics, forget about all the numbers. This is still a human game, and it's still played a lot between the ears. And if somebody can just find that simple little spark to get things going, then the world will unfold as it should, or as most Jets fans expect it to.
Yeah, a win tomorrow night would be absolutely massive for this team. You break the losing streak, you start off the road trip with a good feeling, because otherwise you're going into Carolina against a very, very good team where nothing is guaranteed. And then, of course, back-to-back against the Preds. Maybe we'll get to the Preds in a minute. They are a disaster right now, dead last in the National Hockey League. But, John, speaking of those lines, I'm not sure if you've caught any of the dispatches from practice today, but this is how things looked when they hit the ice and presumably will for tomorrow. The Lowry line is back together. Adam is in between Nito Niederreiter and Alexei Fallo. Mm-hmm. Vlad Nemetsnikov is centering Cole Perfetti and Tanner Pearson. And Jonathan Toews is centering Morgan Barron, who's moved to the wing, and Gustav Nyquist. Cole Koepke is the extra. You know that the top line was going to be back together, and they're going to really be riding those guys. I like the decision to go back to Adam Lowry's line. I thought those three looked great together before they were broken up and have been the most consistent line since about the fifth period of Adam Lowry's return. But it's interesting to see Vlad now back in the middle and Toews moving seemingly down the lineup, playing with Barron and Nyquist. Just thoughts on what Arnie's cranked out to begin the road trip.
Well, you're right about about, I guess we have to call them lines 1 and 3, but I hate that. But, about the Scheifele line. I think it might be 1 and 2 right now. Well, yeah. But so the Scheifele line and the Lowry line just makes a ton of sense to keep together. And I never thought I would ask this question is, do they miss Nick Ehlers? Do they miss that second line left winger that, if Toews, if it was Toews, Ehlers, and Perfetti, I'm not sure that there would be a line juggling going on. Now, that said, it's not realistic because I don't think they could have been able to sign Toews without not signing Ehlers. So it probably wouldn't have worked. I'm one of those guys, and I admire what Rick Bowness did with lines. I admire what Scott does with lines. I'm a patient bugger. I really am. I would have tried to keep everybody together just a little bit longer, but I'm not in the room and I'm not in the coach's office, and I don't see it on a regular basis that something wrong is happening. To me, this is a real reward for Tanner Pearson, who I think has been one of the best stories of the offseason, signing and working hard and being a smart journeyman hockey player. And Cole Koepke, to me, was a guy that until he got hurt, he was a really good surprise too. I like Morgan Barron in the center. I like his size. I would have told you on that. I think it happened for 2 games in a row that they were Scheifele, Toews, Lowry, Barron. I would have told you that might have been the best line of 4 centermen in the National Hockey League. Obviously, somebody in the Jets office didn't agree with me because they feel they need to change something. The other thing about this, too, Andrew, is to say, particularly Perfetti and Lowry, and maybe to a lesser extent Toews, it takes time. It takes time. Adam Lowry did not have a camp. Cole Perfetti missed a lot of hockey. Jonathan Toews missed more than that. And to expect those guys to be full bore from their returns and in Toews' situation through camp and through the first 20 games after almost 2.5 years might have been too much. And this game catches up to you. It really does. Players now, I think if they were honest with us, would be saying, you know what, the wear and tear, it's starting. You're starting to feel it. You're starting to feel the travel. You're starting to feel the bumps and bruises. And those are the guys that have played regularly a lot through last year, through camp, and through the first 22 or 23 games. The 3 guys I mentioned all didn't do all of that. And you do wonder if it has started to take its toll.
Yeah, I mean, I love the start that Toews had, and I think we saw a lot of what we were hoping we'd see out of him. It's just it hasn't kind of progressed in the last 10 games.
It's flattened out. It really he's leveled off. But I think that I think you have to expect that after missing all this time. And his body at this point is probably feeling what it would feel after 60 games in years 5, 6, and 7 in the NHL with the Blackhawks.
Yeah, there is part of me that thinks, they'll, and maybe it's with these new lines, can go in, get a good feeling with that line, get a goal or two, and then kind of just take that next step. Because again, we focus on everything night by night with the day off in between. And I mean, listen, the Jets could go in and put 3 in the first period and everyone would be, oh, all right, we're good again. But you just remember the last game and how things finished. And obviously it didn't finish very well against the Minnesota Wild. And your point about what Minnesota's doing right now is well taken. That was back-to-back shutouts for that team. I believe they're 9-1-1 in their last 11. Outside of Colorado, they've been playing as well as any team in the league after an ugly start that had them 3 games under 500 after about 9 or 10 games. So, listen, there's a lot of hockey left to be played, but there is still a sense of urgency, which is interesting, John, because, you look at the NHL standings this year, and I can never remember anything like this before. Even with all the loser points and the ridiculous point system, in my opinion, that has some games worth 3 and some games worth 2, it was always to create this perceived parity. Well, that's exactly what they've got right now. I mean, the Leafs are dead last in the Eastern Conference right now, and yet they're 4 points out of a wild card spot, 5 points out of a wild card spot.
They're 5 points out, yeah.
And in Winnipeg right now, I mean, you pull up the standings and you look at, geez, the Jets are 10th or 11th. Well, and then you think about the fact that they played less games and you put their point percentage together and they're actually in the 8th spot if it's on points per games played. But again, that can change very quickly. It seems like everyone's getting at least to overtime every night. And if you go a week without winning a hockey game or at least getting a point, all of a sudden there's 4 or 5 teams that have just passed you. And that's basically what happened over the course of this last week plus for the Jets.
I tell you, the one statistic that I keep monitoring for every team in the league is goal differential. Goal differential, for the most part, gives you a really great indicator of the ebbs and flows of your hockey club. Like Colorado's already plus 38. They've scored 38 more goals than they've allowed, which is phenomenal. There are teams that won't go 82 games and be plus 38. The Jets are plus 8 and are, at this point behind at least 4 teams that they're fighting wild card spots for that have a negative goal differential. That's one of the reasons I'm not too concerned. Now, yes, a lot of that was with Connor Hellebuck in goal. So that's why I think that this next little while, we say 4 to 6 weeks, let's budget 8. Well, seriously, I think you're better to be conservative than to be aggressive, because the whole concept of him getting the surgery now was have him ready for the big run, right? It wasn't necessarily have him ready for the Olympics, but have him ready for January. And so January and the end of February and March, where the Jets need him, this was a good time for the surgery to occur. So from that perspective, if this team can basically go 500 for the next 4 weeks, I think this is going to be a moral victory for this hockey club, and I think they're going to be in good shape. I really do. And I think that is it concern? If you're a hardcore Jets fan, are you concerned? Sure, you have to be. That's why you're a fan. I think if you look at the overall picture, I'm not that concerned, unless Kevin goes out and decides he wants to get a goalie and decides he wants to do what Chris McFarland did last year. Amazingly, I don't know how Chris did it, but he did it and found 2 starting goaltenders. But go find a starting goaltender that can help you in the short term, knowing full well in 8 weeks you're going to have to find a way to get rid of that goaltender somehow, some way, or get rid of some other goaltender somehow, some way.
Yeah, I think that phone line for other goaltenders is behind a pane of glass to break in case of emergency, and we'll see whether we get to that and whether he pulls the trigger.
Well, and the other thing is, that you know that the contemplation of should we go get another goaltender changed the moment the news about Hellebuck went public because the prices went up.
Oh, yeah. Hey, no one's looking to do the Jets any favors.
If you had been able to keep it quiet, this is where the insiders, this is where the Dragers and the Friedmans and all these other guys make a difference. If they had been able to keep it quiet for another 48 hours, you do wonder if there was a chance there was a phone call made and the price wasn't that bad, something would have happened. But now we know the prices are going to be sky high. They're going to be sky high for a goaltender because, believe it or not, Andrew, nobody's out there doing a favor for the other general manager. It doesn't happen.
Especially not in a league like this where there's like 2 points separating, third place from third last in conferences right now, outside, of course, of what the Avalanche have done. John, we're going to see the Preds on Saturday night. That could be Milic's first start if Comrie goes in these next two games. 6-12-4, 3 losses in a row, dead last in the NHL. I was talking with Dustin Nielsen in Edmonton earlier today, and I joked that, it was about 17 months ago where we raised a banner for the Predators, off-season champions. Those big signings of Marchessault and Stamkos and Shea. Stunning how poorly this has gone. And I wouldn't have surprised me if they got back to being a good team this year. Maybe it was just a one-off. It's not happening again. How do you think Barry Trotz is going to handle this move forward? And will this be a team where we see some significant movements and somewhat of an implosion and a rebuild happening on the fly?
Well, I think we're seeing it already. I think I'll be honest. I think we've been witnessing it for the last 12 months. A blatant plug for our podcast. We had Barry on 2.5 weeks ago, and if you read between the lines, he's already talking about the long-term frustration of this year and where they're going. Because if you recall, the year that they, the whole Sphere controversy and what they were doing, they actually gave up some players at the deadline for picks. They are really deep with draft choices. They are really deep with prospects. The prospects may never come to fruition, but the prospects aren't ready yet. And the draft picks, that's a bit of a lottery, but I think they understand exactly what's going on. Are they frustrated that Steven Stamkos hasn't done his job? Yes. Jonathan Marchessault hasn't really done his. Brady Shea hasn't done. Absolutely. But I think that they are fully aware of what's going on, and I don't think there's any panic in Nashville. I think that they have told ownership this is what was going to happen, even though there's disappointment in the amount of money that has been spent. Do I see Stamkos being shopped at some point if his contract will allow? Yes. Same thing with Marchessault for a team that thinks they're a contender. Ryan O'Reilly is the only guy in many ways that can easily be shopped because he doesn't have any caveats on his contract, but they've basically told him that he's got a no trade unless he wants to be traded. So what you see is what you get in Nashville. This is what they are. I think that Barry Trotz is learning on the job, and I think he's learned to be patient in this situation. And I think that they will reevaluate next summer. I don't foresee a huge sale. They're not going to get rid of UC Saros. Remember, they already traded their best goalie prospect to San Jose.
Yeah, Askarov.
So I'm not sure what they can do other than hope and pray that their young prospects and some of their draft picks that they've been able to accrue come through over the next little while. Remember, there's not the pressure in Nashville that there is in Winnipeg. There's not the pressure in Nashville that there is in Vancouver or Toronto. The Nashville Predator fan base loves the Nashville Predators no matter who wears the sweater. And so it's the two beat reporters that follow the team are not going to be all over the club like they would be in Winnipeg or in Toronto or Montreal or Detroit or New York or Boston. It just doesn't work that way. And I think that patience, will show over the next 4 or 5 months for Barrie.
Yeah, and it seems like a team that sort of needs maybe a bit of a culture overhaul in that, they felt they were close. They added these veteran players that have won cups in other spots. And now, you're wondering, did these guys come and make it, a pseudo NHL retirement home and a great place to live and play? But for guys that, were no longer at that level and maybe not as challenged or motivated to be on that. I mean, I don't really have any answers. Just there's a lot of talent on that team. We know that team very, very well. And it's stunning to see them 32 out of 32 teams after the season that they had last year.
Well, let's remember, I'm glad you brought that up. When the Jets played Nashville in the playoffs, their strength was in goal and on defense. That was their strength. I mean, they were so deep on the blue line, it was ridiculous. They had 7 defensemen that other teams were like salivating over.
Yeah.
And then they had Pekka Rinne and Jussi Saros. So that's where the difference is. I don't think the difference is for almost 2 decades, it was a defenseman factory. And they just don't have that right now. They don't have that depth on the blue line that Nashville was famous for when Barrie was the coach.
John Shannon with us. Folks, if you haven't already subscribed on 100% Hockey, you're missing out big time. All your favorite podcast platforms, make sure to give John and Darren a sub. And you can check out some of the highlights and great interviews on YouTube as well. I have to admit, John, just before we go, I laughed out loud listening to Darren ask Lou Lamoriello his thoughts on social media and whether he had a TikTok account. Lou is still Lou, isn't he? Even as the game changes a little bit around him.
Lou Lamoriello has not changed from the first day I met him in 1987. And he was, I was a young producer, and he wasn't that young yet. I mean, he was the new general manager of the New Jersey Devils. Everybody knows that there's a way to do things the Lou way and everything else. And so the Lou way has worked. It's won him Stanley Cups. It's given him lots of opportunities. He's had some success in New Jersey, in Toronto, and on Long Island. And what Lou does is he stabilizes. He does an amazing job of creating stability in a franchise. And when we talked to him yesterday, it was you're always worried whether you're going to get the corporate Lou or is Lou too serious. Lou is as glib as I've ever heard him, Andrew. He's happy. He's not threatened. He has a new job. He still has lots of opinions about the game. And really in so many ways, he's one of my favorite people, has been for years in the game. People are afraid of Lou. And really there is nothing further from the truth. All Lou gives you is the truth and Lou's way. And if you don't like it, that's fine. He doesn't care. But he's one of the great pillars, in my opinion, not just of the National Hockey League. He's one of the great pillars of the game of hockey, period. And one of the reasons why this league has had so much success recently.
Yeah, he is a straight shooter and unapologetically authentic as well. And I think you'll see that in the 100% Hockey episode with Lou Lamoriello. John, let's hope for a good game tomorrow and maybe lighten things up around the peg. And, of course, all of your coverage with the folks over on the Superstation CGOB when talking about the Winnipeg Jets. Thanks, as always, for your time, pal.
Cheers.
Thanks so much. There's John Shannon. Again, 100% hockey with Millard and Shannon. Check it out wherever you get your favorite pods. And lots of great stuff over on the YouTube channel as well. All right. Well, if you missed yesterday's program, we did talk with Taylor Allen on the demise of Valor FC. And there's still plenty of talks around soccer circles here in the city about what happened. We're going to get into a soccer conversation about professional soccer, but also on the women's side. And in just a couple minutes, we're going to have Winnipeg soccer legend Desiree Scott, who just announced her retirement, as well as Christina Litz, president of the NWSL. So stick around for that one. Fun chopping it up with John, getting into these lines that we've got for tonight. If you popped in a little bit later, things really shaken up outside of that top line. Well, in a way, they're back to normal with Adam Lowry, with Nito Niederreiter and Alexia Fallow. But tomorrow we're going to see Vlad Nemetsnikov in between Cole Perfetti and Tanner Pearson, and Jonathan Toews in between Morgan Barron and Gustav Nyquist. As you can see on the screen with the Clean Line lines, they are brought to you by Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. Captain approved. Look at the big guy, Adam Lowry there, bringing the heat. Listen, 40 years in the business, the leaders in both commercial and residential plumbing, heating, and electrical services. Got a nice picture from our pal Scott Westman, who had a Clean Line van in front of his house. Sometimes you don't want to have to give him a call, but when you need it, there is nobody better. Much like Adam Lowry has the backs of the Winnipeg Jets, Clean Line has your back with 24/7 emergency services, because you never know when that pipe is going to break, unfortunately. Check them out online, cleanline.ca, for all of their services. And again, always remember, 24/7 emergency service from Clean Line, online at cleanline.ca. Well, only one game tonight in the National Hockey League, Dallas at Edmonton. We'll hit that in the Cool Bet lines. For Thursday might be a great day to maybe ditch out of work a little early and hit your local Boston Pizza for a full slate of Thanksgiving Day football in the National Hockey League. Some great games. Lions, Packers, Chiefs, Cowboys, Bengals, Ravens, NFL football, Winnipeg Jets hockey. No better place to get together with your gang than your local BP. Check out that new Flight Club menu with the pizza flights, wing flights, bite flights, fry flights. And of course, with that Flight Club menu, we'll give you a chance to win Boston Pizza's grand prize of a trip for two to see the Jets and Ducks in Southern California at the end of February. Staying at home tonight, order online at bostonpizza.com. And as you get ready to take care of that holiday shopping list, get on down to Royal Sports. You can take care of so much of it in one spot, the biggest and best selection of sports merchandise anywhere. And when you're thinking about Winnipeg Jets gear or jerseys or NFL merch or Blue Jays stuff, Canada soccer gear, Royal Sports has it all. Maybe as much stock as every other store in Winnipeg combined. But it's not just for fans. They've got the biggest selection of hockey equipment, skates, and more, sticks, and of course, snowboard season is right around the corner. Royal's been the snowboard leader for over 25 years in Manitoba. Tons of cool stuff on the King's skate, snow, and surf side. So get ready for Christmas with one stop at Royal Sports. Check them out on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. And as always, you can pop by and see him at the Superstore itself, 750 Pembina Highway in Winnipeg at Royal Sports. All right, before we bring in Desiree Scott and Christina Litz, let's give a big cheers to our friends over at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, really looking forward to this one, gang. Lots of soccer conversations coming out of the unfortunate news on the ceasing of operations for Valor FC on Friday. And figured we'd get to maybe the most respected voice when it comes to the sport in the history of our city. And another person with a Winnipegger that's had a major part of professional soccer this year on the women's side. It is a pleasure to welcome in the president of the NSL, which just finished up their first year, Christina Litz, and the destroyer herself, the newly retired Winnipeg soccer icon, Desiree Scott. Ladies, welcome back to WST. It's great to see you both.
Great to be here.
You know, Christina, I want to start with you, and we'll get to, what happened with Valor and the future of soccer in the city as well. But first things first, congratulations on a successful first year for the NSL. Congratulations to the Vancouver Rise, who won a thrilling final 2-1 in the last couple weeks. There's so much work, like with any new initiative, there is so much work that goes into just kicking off for the very first time. Now that you've had a little bit of time to exhale, tell us about year one and how did it go compared to your expectations?
Well, great to be here today. And yeah, we're just coming up for air from the NSL final, which was, the day before Grey Cup here. We were all in Toronto at BMO Field in front of almost 13,000 fans. And it was really the first time, right at the end of the match, handing out those medals and the trophy when you get a chance to exhale and think about the season that was. And we're really happy with where things landed this year. We think we have a great foundation to build women's pro soccer in this country. Look, when you start these things, you have all the best business plans on paper. You work out your models and in theory, you hope things go well, but until it actually happens, you don't know. But we're happy to say that come, year end, we have some really strong metrics that we're proud of. There's world benchmarking that happens amongst the women's professional leagues. And in our first year, we're top 5 in attendance for women's pro soccer around the world. One of the most competitive leagues. All of our games were really close. Some top talent. I think we had 6 call-ups to the national team from our group this year. We had great ratings. We were on TSN and CBC this year and had over 1.1 million folks watch our NSL final, which was really exciting and the top full season soccer property on TSN this year. So we're happy about that, but this is just the beginning. And our ambitions are not just to be a top, women's pro league around the world in soccer. We want to be a top pro league, full stop. And we believe it's possible. So we're just at the beginning here, but a great first season.
Just as we bring in Des here, I just have to ask you, Christina, how much of a boost was it for the league to have experienced veterans that have won Olympic gold medals like Desiree to say, you know what, I'm not done yet. I'm going to come and be a pioneer of women's pro sports in soccer here in the country.
Yeah, it was critical on a number of fronts. And Desi knows, I think it was sort of this time last year when Diana and I were in Kansas City they hosted the NWSL final. And boy, we were bothering her. She was ready to retire as she should. She's done so much for club and country in her career. But we knew for a couple of reasons, Desi's a household name and we know how important that is to get a league up and running. We also know that this has been, and we'll let her speak to this, part of her vision and her dream, being one of the national team, co-team members of Diana Matheson, who founded this league, and Christine Sinclair, who's a part owner of the Vancouver Rise. This was their vision, and for them to be here when we launched was so critical. And I think the added benefit is she really taught her team how to be a pro athlete this year, and her mentorship was so evident in all aspects, from playing the game to how you deal with sponsors and how you deal with media. So having Desi here this first season, first of all, for me personally, I can't even still believe I get to talk to her and be on a call like this today with her. But it's meant everything.
Well, Des, I'll start off by, first of all, after all the conversations we've had following your incredible career, congratulate you on retirement. I know you announced it in September, but just finished your last game a couple weeks ago. How are you? How are you feeling? What are you doing with yourself?
Man, I'm trying to figure that part out, but no, it's a long time coming, but it's something that I knew was coming, and I've had a wonderful time here in Canada with the NSL and Ottawa Rapid to really just bring it full circle, and I'm feeling at peace after having a great year. So thank you. Yeah.
I mean, hey, you kicked it off with a goal, I believe, in your first game, if I'm not mistaken. I remember we were all talking about it here on the show. I mean, listen, I know this was really important to you as someone that has been so impactful and, in everything when it comes to it, on the field, off the field. I mean, raising the profile, not just of women's soccer, but women's athletics in Canada. That final year coming back, I mean, we talked to you when you first made the move. It was clear that this was important to you. How will you look back at year one being a pioneer of the NSL?
Well, it's been my honor. I know a lot of people thank me for coming, but truly I am so grateful to have been a part of it in year one. There's something so unique and special about helping to build and drive a culture within a team to help set standards of what's, to be expected to be a top level professional league and team. And again, I got to play up and lace up in front of Canadian fans. And that's conversations I've been having for years with Diana Matheson's, the Christine Sinclair's in locker rooms. Like, how do we not have a league here? And so to be a part of it, to play in it, to see it come to fruition and to see it be so successful. I've also been a part of the NWSL in year one. And I can speak to the fact that this is leaps and bounds ahead of where that league was in its first year. So to see its success, to see the right people wanting to do the right thing in this league, from ownership to presidents to, just the players wanting to be involved here in Canada. It's exciting, and it's something that I think will be a huge part of my memories and my journey.
You have played obviously at the highest level and represented Canada for well over a decade. But on a professional level, you played in Europe. You played in the NWSL. Kansas City, noteworthy, is had the first stadium built for a women's team, and I've driven by it a number of times. It's a beautiful facility. And then, starting in here, listen, there's unique challenges in Canada. It's a massive country. I mean, you're not just driving an hour to games, but the actual play on the field and what you were hoping to see, did we get maybe more exposure on a level of talent that maybe the average fan and maybe even some people that are scouting, which is probably more difficult in Canada than anywhere else, kind of come onto it? Because this was about establishing pro soccer, but it's also about the next generation of the women's game and for our national team.
Yeah, what I can say, I know a lot of eyes would be on this league in the Northern Super League in year one. Like, what is it going to be? What's it going to look like? From a broadcast perspective, it looked amazing on TV, but also what you saw when you were live in the stadiums was quality soccer. And I didn't know what to expect coming in. You're building teams from scratch, rosters, coaching staffs, everything is brand new. But as the year went on, we're playing the teams multiple times, and you just saw the quality continue to improve game after game. Teams were getting better, gelling, building those connections, those cultures as clubs, and the product that they produced on the field. And what you're also seeing is what this league is built for is funneling players into that national team. We're seeing first-time call-ups of players. My teammate, DB Pridham, just got called into her first camp, and that's what this league is for, to get eyes on players and talent that maybe have not been seen before, and now they're getting the call-up with the national team, and that's what we want.
Well, I mean, your path to the national team is probably different than many others. I mean, playing here, growing up here in Winnipeg, playing at the U of M, and then, the incredible ascendance to the world stage. There is no one even close to your impact on the game from Winnipeg. So I will ask you what you felt like when you heard the bad news that the Valor FC had finished or ceased operations on Friday, ending a 7-year run to really try to establish the CPL here in the Peg.
Yeah, that's obviously incredibly devastating for the province, for the soccer community, for the players, the staff. The fans, especially, you know, they have rallied behind that team from the jump. And I think Manitoba is a place that soccer can live and be positive and bring communities together. That's the beauty of the sport. So obviously very sad to hear that news. I trained with some of those guys in my off season. They were so nice to welcome me in. So yeah, it's devastating for the city for sure.
Now, I want to talk to Christina a little bit more about this from the professional side of things, kind of in the business side. But, you know, you're 2 weeks retired. You said you're just figuring it out. But how soon are you getting into a broadcast booth or in front of a camera? I mean, we've been waiting for this for a long time. I mean, do you have big plans of things going forward, or is it just take a little bit of time to enjoy the fact that you don't have to show up for practice and training every day?
Hey, no one's telling me where to be, what workout to do. I'm enjoying that for a little bit. This could be my plug. Holler at me if there's an opportunity in front of the camera. But yeah, enjoying some downtime for sure. I feel like I've earned it a little bit.
Christina, back to the pro scene here in Manitoba. Obviously, for the soccer community, it was really devastating, and it caught some people off guard. When you dig into it a little bit more, probably not surprising. I mean, I won't get you to adjudicate why or who's to blame for this, but you know, as someone from the city that is in charge of leading a new generation of women's soccer, I mean, how did you see it? And you know, as disappointing as it is, might there be opportunity in this moving forward on the women's side?
Yeah, I mean, I share Desi's sentiment that it is devastating. I know how important that club was to its fans and to the soccer community here in Winnipeg. And so it's really unfortunate. I think where I come from on this is I think Desi and I and the rest of the league still believe that Winnipeg deserves a pro team here. And you know, whether the CPL figures out an opportunity going forward, I can't obviously comment on that. But as we announced a couple of months ago, we are now looking for our seventh franchise in the NSL, and we've been very public about the fact that we want to see that franchise center or West Canada, essentially to balance out travel, you know, for the existing clubs that we already have, which is a challenge. And so really, when you look at that, there are only a handful of cities, central to west, where, you know, you can imagine we have our eye on right now. And Winnipeg's one of them. I mean, you know, I live here. I travel all across the country. I'm hardly home with the NSL, but this is home for me. I believe Winnipeg deserves a pro soccer team and deserves a pro women's sports team. You know, we're such a proud soccer a sports city, but we deserve and need a pro women's team here. And I do think the NSL could be that team here, and it's definitely on our radar.
You know, there's well, and I'll put this to you. I mean, you know, when you're starting a league and starting franchises, I mean, there's a checklist of things that you need to have, and things that I think we're frankly missing in Valor. I mean, you know, a proper venue, ownership with the support and the commitment to it. But that only goes so far. I mean, you need champions within the community to be building this up. I mean, when you look at Winnipeg, how close would we be? I'm staring at someone that might be a pretty good person to be involved in a team right now. It does seem like there are some unique things that might be really in the favor of the NSL. And just from a personal standpoint, I mean, you talked about how busy the sporting market is. I think the fact that the NSL is a women's product that we don't have right now might actually be a real benefit to this if it happened. But when you look at Winnipeg, what needs to happen and how much of it is already here?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think the community support is here. I think that the fandom is here. There's sort of no question in my mind about that. Look, infrastructure is the elephant in the room here. Where would we play? And you know, I think there's some interesting conversations around that in the city right now about what it could be. This is a challenge that we have in soccer across this country right now. We you know, I think Diana quotes a stat where we have a mid-sized soccer stadium for every 8 million people in this country. And as we look ahead to a Men's World Cup year and how we talk about legacy, how do we make this about the whole country and building the proper facilities for a sport that is so accessible and always on the rise here across the country, not just in the two cities where the World Cup will be played. We recently received about $6 million from the federal government that is being directed at our clubs for short-term infrastructure challenges that they have, which is really needed alongside a bigger conversation there. But, to give you an example of what could work in Winnipeg, for example, our Montreal club, the Montreal Roses, had a real challenge finding a stadium in downtown Montreal when they first launched. They're the obvious place being Saputo really wasn't going to be a home for them. On the university front, where there's some decent sized stadiums, it was going to be a real challenge for scheduling. So out of necessity, they ended up building a temporary stadium just outside of Montreal in Laval. And it's really incredible. It's become one of the best scenes and fan experiences in the league. They're getting really good at that. It's, they have the VIP areas, they have the fan areas, the activations, the food trucks, and it's about, the stadium's about 6,000. That's a model that is really emerging as a way to be a stopgap to get a team up and running and create a really right-sized fan experience. So I think we wonder if that's a model that could work here. And lots of conversations happening behind the scenes on that.
Just for clarity, I mean, when you say the right size, I mean, what sort of capacity are you looking at for these stadiums? And listen, envisioning it right here in Winnipeg, I mean, if someone said, yeah, we're going to build something, how big do you want it to be? I mean, what is the right size?
Yeah, I think we want to see something in a minimum of 5,000, but, in the 5 to 7, 5 to 8,000 range. I think how important fan experience is. You want to be in a stadium that feels full, and we've been able to attract that size of crowd to our games, and so that's what we'd be looking for here.
Des, from your side of things, I mean, I don't think anyone knows this soccer market in the city as well as you. Do you share the optimism that the NSL might be a nice fit for Winnipeg from your perspective?
I definitely share the optimism. I'm a big advocate for it, and I'm helping to push this across any way that I can and promote. Anytime I've been home, people have been supporting myself, my career, sport in this province. It's one of the most played sports across Canada, and I think there is a real need and desire for women's sport. We're seeing it rise and rise over the last few years, and why not do it in our beautiful province of Manitoba? And obviously, I represent it so proudly, but I feel like we're continuing to fight and put Manitoba on the map. And this could be a move that sets us off and sets the soccer journey to continue on with the legacy that, we want to build there.
Well, and, I think the best example of that was the turnout for the, your final game here in the Peg with the national team earlier this summer, which was, such a special day. I mean, we didn't speak after that. We hooked up beforehand. How will you look back at your final days on the pitch here in Winnipeg as a pro and obviously with the Nats?
Yeah, bittersweet, but man, what a journey. I'm just so grateful to have played this for so many years at such a high level. And I still love it to this day, still will be involved in helping to continue to grow the game. It's a beautiful one. So,
well, listen, I mean, I think to you, obviously, congratulations on everything that you've done. And, with the end of your playing career, I think I will speak for all of us here in the city. We can't wait to see what's next for you. And Christina, congratulations on a great first year. This is something that I think we'll be very keenly interested in as you guys move forward, both from the league overall, but also, potentially making something happen here in Winnipeg because, often, when one thing fails or doesn't work, you can learn some big time lessons that can make you more prepared moving forward. And it's very clear that you and your partners and everyone in this league we're meticulous in building this up for a great kickoff, and now it's time to take it to the next level.
We agree. Thanks for letting us chat with you today about it.
You guys, great stuff as always. All the best. And Des, we'll be in touch. We got to talk some more soccer with you. We got a World Cup coming up as well. So if you got a little bit of extra time, we'll be knocking on your door. Hopefully you can join us again.
There you go. Sounds great.
All right. Appreciate Christina and Des coming by. And, Yeah, listen, I mean, that's an interesting prospect. There is something, and again, this is just me thinking about the possibilities of it. But, I mean, soccer from a professional standpoint in my lifetime has never been, kind of a top tier option for most sporting fans. Unfortunately, the CPL started and Valor never really took off. They were decimated by the pandemic, and through a multitude of reasons didn't work and obviously ceased operations. I can't help but think that a women's professional team might have a very different place in the sporting market, and might be more well supported with it being different than, another men's professional team in a sport that some people are into and some people follow and others don't. I'll tell you what, I didn't get to this, but it was a heck of a start for the PWHL's new teams. I don't know if any of you guys caught that. I guess it was after the game on Friday night. Seattle and Vancouver opened up their season. Overtime game, great crowd. We're seeing the PWHL kind of take steps forward, and obviously the NSL had a really positive first year. So that's something we'll stay on top of. Just always a pleasure to get Desiree on the show. And of course, Christina has had an amazing career in sports marketing and did a fantastic job in getting that league off the ground in year number 1. All right, we're going to hear from Scott Arneal coming up in just a minute. But let's get to fan feedback. For fans first, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market, where what you see is what you pay, no added fees like the larcenous added fees you get at some of the other ticket retail sites. Also the best spot to sell tickets if you do have them. Listen, there's a ton of talk about the Jets right now. It feels like some people have had takes, from 15 games ago that now they're able to fire right now. But listen, I get the concern. The team hasn't been good enough over the past, 10 games or so. Although, as we heard from Arnie earlier, I mean, some of the defensive numbers are better. They got to score some goals, though. I mean, I had a tweet that I think was misinterpreted by some after the game against Minnesota, and I was blaming the goaltending. I wasn't. I mean, as I said yesterday, we ran the numbers. You don't win with scoring 0 goals. But there is some pessimism, and some people, it seems, want to just shut the door in this season. I think that's insane. But I'm looking right here. Here's Dan, Jets fan. Combs is a good goalie, maybe not Vezina caliber, and does well, but the defensive breakdowns make his job easier. MC Stormy, the team's problem right now is the offense. It's not the offense, I think he meant to say. It's team defense. Blake G, I guess a lot of talk about Jonathan Toews and his sort of cold streak right now. The Toews issue is fine, but he needed to be a complement ad during the UFA period, not the centerpiece. This was too big of a vet for this former President's Trophy team. I don't know if I agree it was too big of a bet. I mean, you have to figure out what else was option. And I mean, listen, if you think the Jets were going to go in and get the biggest free agents, I mean, you're fooling yourself. I mean, that hasn't been the case. I know Nick Lyman had a few absolute bangers in the chat, talking about I got to get to this one. The one about the another day ending in Y, which means Arneal has, here it is. It's another ending in Y. Arneal shakes up a bottom 9 that's going to have more trouble scoring than my fat ass at the bar on the weekend. Nick, a big proponent for separating Scheifele and Connor. Until they do that, the roster doesn't have offense. I mean, listen, they've been together throughout the entire year, and they have had offense at times. It's not good enough right now. I mean, I don't necessarily, and Remis and I were talking off air, most of the other teams do often. If you have 2 really big-time offensive players, often they do play on different lines. I wouldn't be adverse to it, but I think we've seen the way that this team works, and particularly those guys work together. And the problem is when they have been split up, nothing's happened. So, I mean, that's a real part of it as well. Keep them coming, hot and heavy. Fans First fan feedback, brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today over at fansfirst.ca. All right, we're going to get to coach in a minute. Lots of talk about the poker tourney tonight. Right on. Looking forward to seeing you all there. And again, Hamilton, short side snipe. We need to take care of business tonight. Cannot have another win for Jeff. Our Jets watch party. We'll have some great cool bet prizes to give away. We are doing it. It'll kind of be a bit of a pre-Christmas party, a holiday gathering, if you will. We're going to do it for the game on December 17th against St. Louis. Perfect Central Division, 7 p.m. game. Gotta love it. And we're going to be doing it at Boston Pizza, Kenaston. So we're sharing the love. We've done one at Taylor before. We've done Polo Park. We're going to do BP Kenaston this time. So mark it down in your calendars, everybody. You are more than welcome. The more the merrier, I would say. And closer to the event, if you want to call, if you got a bunch of people and you want to call and book a table, you can do that at Boston Pizza, Kenaston. But December 17th, that's where it's happening, 7 p.m., Jets Blues. We will see you there with festive tidings and hopefully, well, the Blues stink this year too. So regardless of what happens over this next little while, that'll be a game that we'll have to have. So hopefully we'll see you there as well. But listen, let's get to it. We talked a lot off the top about the shaken up lines, about Elias Salomonson's call-up. He's playing with Dylan Sandberg today. Looks like he'll make his debut tomorrow. Well, let's ask the coach if he will. Here is Scott Arneal and asked if Elias will make his debut tomorrow in D.C.
It's looking that way. You know what? He's day to day. Actually skated today, which is good news. So be coming on the trip, and just for tomorrow, he's going to get his first good look.
I was just going to say, from the eye test of watching Neil skate over on the other side before practice, would it be favorable for him? I'm not sure what your thought process was when he first came off the ice.
Yeah. When we first heard, thought it was a lot more severe. Thought I'd be giving you the old week to week, but no, I got the day to day, which is real good news. So he'll have to obviously see how it feels after skating today, but it was good that yesterday it felt a lot better than it did obviously during the game, and that's a good sign.
You have always been a strong advocate of Elias Salomonsson. Are you happy you finally get a chance to get him in the lineup? Considering the circumstances, you don't want to see somebody get injured, but I know you've wanted to have this guy at the NHL level for a while.
Yeah, well, he's progressing to be an NHL player, and him playing last year, having a really good year as a young player, and playing again this year. For me, the big reasoning behind it, obviously having an opportunity to get him in, is that it's early. We're still in November. Those other guys, Lambert and Chibi and Parker, them being able to get in here and play at this time of year, and kind of, because when you have to if you have to try to hit our season in February, March, it can be tough. It can be really tough on a defenseman. And so for Saul to come in here now and get some reps and get some experience, get that first game under his belt, all those things that come with going into the game, you'll get it real quick.
I'm excited to see Elias tomorrow. And listen, best case scenario is he goes in, looks like he belongs, plays well, and gives them a real tough decision when Neil Pionk is back and able to return to the lineup. Here's Arnie on putting Elias into the top 4 skating alongside Sandberg.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not written in stone. I mean, I think that we'll kind of just see how tomorrow goes, what the matchups will be. But, Sammy's a pretty good defenseman. Kind of went through, there's a lot of similarities between those two guys on how they play and their feet and how they defend. And just, threw them there together today. Kind of see how we'll get to tomorrow and see how the game itself is moving along.
All right, there's the coach on Elias Salomonsson. Now, there was plenty of other topics, including a big shakeup in the lines. Scott Arneal was asked on Guts Nyquist, who is yet to score as a Winnipeg Jet, and he's able to handle that sort of slump better as a experienced veteran in the league.
Yeah, no, he's not frustrated and breaking sticks and going crazy. You know what? At the end of the day, we've kind of been jumping around on the lines because of the injuries, guys coming in, guys going out. I just need to make it needs to be a little bit more of consistency that way. And, he's the first guy that, say he would like to be on the board a little bit more. He is more of a pass first type of guy, but at the end of the day, he is getting some looks, and I'd like to see him, try to bury those. But, he has some other parts of his game that I think have been good. He's got some great patience, great on the entry on the power play. He's been, making those plays. I think that when it comes to the offense, just stick with what he's doing. Try to get to that inside a little bit more. And when he has some opportunities to get some shots off, make sure he does that.
All right. Well, the shakeup has occurred to the lines. We've gone through them quite a few times today on the program. But here's what the coach had to say about trying to shake things up and getting things going outside of that top line.
I threw Vladdy in the middle just because I'm trying to get Vladdy I thought his last couple of games have been really good. And when he has the puck, I think you saw it the other night when the puck was on his stick, he made some real good plays. And it's a little bit sometimes on the wing, you don't get to touch it as much. So, and Bears either. And, he's great. And, I can throw him over, still use him at center ice on the penalty kill, those type of things. But just to kind of, it gives me some big heaviness on the wing as well. With especially with this road trip with Bear being over there. But I just wanted to see Vladdy back in the middle, and obviously we know what he did for us last year, and I just think he's a puck possession guy, and it'll help that maybe spark those other two guys.
All right, so there's a little thought about Vlad Demetsnikov moving to the Paterson Perfetti. We haven't talked a lot about Cole Perfetti, but that's a guy. I mean, listen, I know we missed a bunch of time early on, and it's new line mates, new lines, and all that. They got to get him going. And listen, he had some good success last year playing with the Metsnikov, although, as has been noted in the chat, a little bit of a different situation with Tanner Pearson as opposed to Nikolai Ehlers. And then, of course, that leaves Toews with Barron moving to the left side and Gustav Nyquist. It's going to be fascinating to see how the game goes tomorrow, but also how this ice time is distributed. And, we talked earlier on the program, what is the number 2 line? I would bet tomorrow it'll be Lowry's line at 5-on-5. But listen, if one of those other lines can get some good things going, that would be very welcome for the Winnipeg Jets. Now, there's a lot of questions about, who are these Jets right now? I mean, a nice start, a really tough last 9 games, and now they sit there right in the middle of it all. At 3 games above 500 after only 21 games. They do have a couple games in hand on most of the other teams, which is why they might seem a little lower in the standings. Based on points percentage, they would still be in the second wild card, but that's a drop off from where they were. So Arneal was asked if he feels the Jets are better than what their record shows, or where exactly is this team right now?
You know what? It's funny because the first 10 games we were showing a lot of red, but our record was real good, but it wasn't a recipe that was going to have success for 82 games. Our last 10 games has been way better, and the numbers have really improved offensively. The scoring part, the offense needs to obviously continue to improve and get better, but at the end of the day, I like more of how we're playing without the puck. We're limiting the amount of chances.
Is this last one good, or just,
right now, though,
no.
We got to stay in those 1-goal games. The last 2 examples, we were tied 0-0 and we gave up a goal defending, and then a shorthanded. Last game we were, the other game we were winning 2-1 and we did that, and then last game we were tied. So our mindset has to be stay in games, whether up 1, down 1, tied, and then continue to do what we're doing without the puck. I think that's gotten a lot better. Our attention to sort of our DNA, which is defending, has been better. Now we just have to take up, and I don't want to say offense. I don't want to say, because then we know what happened. It tilts the other way again. So I like a lot more of what we're doing this last 10. The results I'd like to see go a little bit our way.
How surprised are you it's taken so long to get to the DNA? Or did you expect a bit of it?
Yeah, I mean, when the kids were here, there were 7 guys kind of learning on the fly, new guys. Now we've been sprinkling in. The last 10 we've been sprinkling in. All our injured guys have been coming back in. So the chemistry maybe isn't there. That's probably why Scheif's line is not probably why. I know it's why. For the last couple of years they've been together, but their chemistry is because they work together every single practice, every single game. So I'm hoping that be a little bit more consistent, keep these lines together, and kind of roll it forward.
All right, there a little bit of more insight from Scott Arneal on the lines, and for those of you like Nick were wondering why they don't nuke the top line, well, you just heard it from the coach. Let's get to the Cool Bet lines. Only one game tonight, which is just fine. We got the poker tourney at 8 p.m. I hope you'll join us. Details on our socials, but again, head over to coolbet.com, click on poker, get that set up on your phone or your computer, and then search under tournaments, WST, $100 bounty on my head, Remis's head, and the defending champion, Jeff Hamilton, tonight. Looking forward to seeing everybody in the chat, and all you podcast listeners that want to join us, jump on today at 8 p.m. The lone game tonight in the NHL is the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers. In Edmonton, Edmonton's a minus 139 favorite. Dallas is plus 118. That line might surprise you considering how Edmonton's been this year and how good Dallas has been. Important to note, no Mikko Rantanen. He's suspended for tonight's game based on those 2 game misconducts in the past week. They're also without Thomas Harley. So Dallas dealing with a couple of key players that aren't in the lineup tonight. Edmonton, the favorite. Total for the game is 6.5 for tonight's game. Kubit does have a nice, juicy super boost tonight to plus 125. McDavid to get a point. Luka Doncic over 29.5 points. So far, we've got some tons of basketball exclusives as well. And the Lamplighters tonight is Draisaitl and Jason Robertson, both to score. Slim pickings, though, for the points from the point and apple picking season. It's all from the same game. So it is all there. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to do a little mini WST winners during WST at 2:30. Jake and Pat will join me, and we will break down our favorite picks, a few props, and put a parlay together for Thanksgiving Day in the National Hockey League. Some awesome games for Thursday. Starting it off with the Packers and the Detroit Lions. Lions are 2.5-point home favorites. The Chiefs are 3-point favorites in Dallas. That game will be getting going at 3:30, right after Winnipeg Sports Talk. And then the evening game, Bengals and the Ravens. Ravens are 7-point favorites in the Thanksgiving Day finale. If you haven't played a cool bet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus on your first deposit up to $200 over in the sportsbook. Just before we go, I believe Michael Remis would like to make an appearance back on the program. Camera working, mic working. We're
good.
We're good.
A lot of us throwing things here, but thanks to Connor for.
That was clutch. That was so clutch by Connor coming in at that moment.
I didn't even think about it, and then he messaged me. He's like, "You want me to hang on?" I'm like, "Please." Nothing's.
Please do.
I'm plugging things in, and they're not working. So we're good. We're good. Here, I do want to touch on a couple of things and get to talk about anything before. Or where did you want to bring me in and talk about stuff?
I was just going to ask you if you're ready for the poker tourney tonight.
Man, I think so. We better knock out Jeff. Like, he can't even... I don't even want him to be in the money. And it's hard when you have the bounty on your head. People come at you, and he won last time. Like, I give Jeff full credit. He's won 3 times. I don't know how you even do that. I got second in the first one, and there's been a bounty on me, and I haven't even been in the money since. So I like
you got to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good. He's been both.
I think the last 2 I was like 1 away from in the money, so that makes it very frustrating.
We were both at the final table last time, right down to it. But yeah, I know it should be fun. All right, what other topics do you have?
We got to talk about this France, the Olympic jerseys coming out. I've been dying for this. I could have let off the show. I want to say, since the France Olympic jersey has come out, I'm going to bring it up right now. All of a sudden, the Canada one, I think, looks like the Canadian jersey. It's an all-time classic. The Canada Olympic jersey, I love. It's my new favorite jersey. This has got to be the worst jersey I've ever seen. This France jersey. It looks like a practice jersey. There's no collar. There's no striping. It says France.
Well, there's lots of striping.
Like, I want to know what this guy got paid to do this jersey and if I can apply for the job. Like, how much they spent on designing and focus groups. Like, this is a real jersey. It says France in red font with like sans serif font, red lettering with a white outline. There's no logo, bunch of lines. Is this their soccer jersey? And like, someone's got to look at this.
Jerseys are sharp.
Someone's got to look at this jersey and realize that it looks terrible. This is a joke.
Looks like a swimming pool, just like with the lanes underneath the France.
Here's the white version. Like, this is hideous. This has got to be the worst jersey ever. Like, put in an effort. Come on. Put in a logo. Put in some striping. What is this?
Folks, what's
is
better,
garbage.
the France jersey or the Ducks orange home jerseys?
There's beer league jerseys that look better than this. Like, this is an Olympic jersey. Have some respect for the 5 rings here.
It's too bad. I guess that will not be on your Christmas or Hanukkah list. You do not want the France jersey. We were going to get you a France jersey, but
like,
you've been known to get obscure Hockey Nation jerseys before.
I have Slovakia jersey from early 2000s.
Shatan?
I might get Gabrick, Dimitra. I don't have anyone on it. It's blank.
Oh.
Visnovsky, Palfi, Hanzus. I'm really debating. But I want to see a nice... If you want to see a nice... Well, it used to be Slovakia all the time, like NHL 06 to 2011 on Xbox. That was our team. We'd surprise everyone. And then Slovakia surprised everyone at the 2010 Olympics. One of the best games I've ever seen. Slovakia, Russia in the 2010 Olympics. It was Dimitra in the shootout. And Ray Ferraro, this was his coming out party as a broadcaster. He called all of Dimitra's shootout moves. I guess because they'd played together in LA.
He knew it.
And he knew all his moves. That's again obscure game references. Slovakia, Russia, 2010 Olympics. I can't remember what I had for dinner, last week, but yeah, I can remember.
You just rattled
that
off
game.
like their entire roster from 06. That's very impressive.
Yeah. Anyways, here's the Czech jersey. These are a nice classic jersey. This is what are we doing here? Where Czech can have these amazing jerseys. I don't really care for the number, but it's fine. They have a logo. It's got shoulder. Like, what was that France jersey? Who approved that?
Well, I felt the exact same thing looking at the Black Canada jersey. So
the Canada jersey looks amazing compared to the France jersey, and the black on black leaf is terrible. But this is a nice jersey, this Czech jersey. Why? What are we doing? Who designed the France one? What were they thinking? I don't know. Who approved that?
Do some Big J work on it, Remo. Find out.
We need to get the oral history of the France Olympic hockey jersey. Maybe the worst jersey I've seen in history. It's got to be, right?
It sucks. There's no doubt about that.
It's terrible. And the NHL schedule, we have the poker tonight, so I don't really care. That there's one game, I guess, but so many games last night, one game tonight, 15 games tomorrow, 0 games Thursday for Thanksgiving, 15. I like the Black Friday. It's all day, and the Jets play at 4. That's fun. I think I like how they've done that, but 2 games tonight, or 1 game tonight, there's too many nights like that.
The one thing, I don't really care that there's 1 game tonight. I like a busy slate of games, fun for DraftKings, fun for putting some bets together. But I do think it's is the NFL so big and such a monolith that the NHL doesn't even want to go head to head with their Thanksgiving Day games in Canada? Would this not be a good time for, I don't know, Montreal to play Ottawa or Edmonton to play Vancouver or something like that? You would think that, at least in Canada, if they wanted to keep things going and have some games, maybe expose some of the Canadian teams to hockey fans south of the border that don't want to watch the football, that would be a good time for a couple all-Canadian matchups when everyone south of the border is doing their holiday thing.
I agree. Maybe the players are American. They celebrate American Thanksgiving, but I don't know. It would be nice to have a game Thursday night. I agree. So I don't know. The NHL schedule, the first Friday of the regular season, they didn't have a game. It doesn't make sense sometimes. So
not too many dark days in the league other than the ones mandated in around Christmas and around the Olympic break. But anyways, one game tonight. Buckle up. Go Oilers. Give the although now Dallas is going to be a playoff team for sure. Like, do we change the way we think of it? And like, oh, the Oilers are a 500 team, technically in the running for the wild card. Would we rather have them lose because Dallas is probably going to be in no matter what? I don't know. There's only 21 games in. It's too early to be thinking about this. That being said, tomorrow on the program, I think we'll get into a little bit of a quarter season report card for the Winnipeg Jets. So anyways, tune in for that tomorrow. We'll have the setup for the game tonight or tomorrow night. Elias Salomonson's debut as an NHLer. Looks like he's going to be playing alongside Dylan Sandberg. Really excited for that. And that would be so big for the organization if he can come in and show that he belongs right away. A top prospect like that has played at the American Hockey League level, been waiting for this opportunity, and it was time to go out and make the most of it. Because unlike, the Lamberts and whatnot, I mean, well, listen, if they come in and if you really produce, there'll be a spot for you in the lineup. But for Elias, this is an opportunity that, if he can come in and look good, all of a sudden, they might say, hey, you know what, this guy's going to be a regular. And I think that would be a good thing if obviously he can hold up his end of the bargain. And we will find that out tomorrow night. That's going to be doing it for us, though. We got to get this pod up right now. Thank you to Connor for jumping in at the start of the show while the CTO was in distress. Thank you to Hammer for joining us on the program today. Friends off, come 8 p.m. on the Poker Tourney. John Shannon was great. Christina Litz and Desiree Scott, of course. And everyone that was hanging out with us today on the program. Great stuff in the chat as well. Again, hopefully we'll see many of you for the Poker Tourney tonight. Check our socials if you have any details. But it's coolbet.com. Click on poker. Go to tournaments. Just do the search by the little magnifying glass WST. It'll come up. We're already registered. We will see you then, 8 p.m. If you can't make it right at 8, there is late registration for the first hour. And again, $100 bounties on myself, Remis, and Jeff Hamilton tonight. Thanks again to all of our sponsors on WST. And don't forget, we have a date and a location for the Jets Holiday Watch Party, December 17th, Boston Pizza, Kenniston. Hope to see you there as well. But we hope to see you tonight on the Poker Tourney and see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. to kick off the road trip and get ready for the Jets and Washington Capitals tomorrow right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.